Now that the general elections are over, this is a time for reflection in the Indian legacy media. We know now that for the last decade or so, legacy newsrooms have essentially become an extension of the government's propaganda wing. It's shameful how the so-called mainstream media has completely abdicated its duty, its role, and ended up essentially regurgitating whatever the government has wanted it to do. And that's why the results came as a shock to many of these so-called Godi media anchors on the 4th of June, who had been predicting a landslide victory for the BJP and berating those who did not agree with their point of view. Suddenly, many of them sounded a lot more softer, a lot more chastened. But the question that everyone wanted to ask was whether this would actually lead to a change in the way they report the news. That's really not the case. If you watch these news channels in particular closely, even now, they are still very much Godi media, and they're not going to change in a hurry. And I argue in this piece that those who do try to take a U-turn now have completely lost their credibility in any case, and I wouldn't really depend on them to bring you fair and objective news. As I wrote earlier, the real stars of this election have been the YouTubers, the digital media platforms that have stuck their necks out with solid ground reporting and commentary to bring you the reality of what is happening on the ground in India. And these are the news outlets that are actually doing real journalism. And that's why the government now wants to control or regulate what digital content creators are doing online as well. That's part of a new bill that is currently in the draft stage that the government is looking to bring more control over. That's a separate debate, and one that I think will see an intensified controversy in the days and weeks ahead. But for the Indian media, this is a moment of reckoning. We can either choose to sink or we can choose to redeem ourselves.